Hello everyone and welcome back to Hemel-Down Model Railway. So this is just a quick video just to show you some of the progress that I've been doing lately. So as you can see, I've started adding in a few more trees. I've painted up the embankments with the textured muds there, and now what I'm doing is slowly adding in all my mosses and stuff all to the road and the top of the bridge there. What I've used for the road is baked mud. Also mixed in is a little bit of limestone gravel. And what I've done then is to sprinkle some static grasses just up the side, just to look like it's sort of weeds and stuff that are growing up in the corner there. And then what I done is, while the paint was wet, was just to brush them up a little bit so they sort of start sticking to the side of the bridge there. I've started to add in another layer of paint to the brickwork. I've just got to add a bit more, so this is still a little bit wet. I've added in another tree at the back there, and I've also fixed in my coal stays. And what I've done, and I'll take you in a little bit closer, is just to add some bushes in there. You can see that they're a little bit wet, and I've dropped in some of the coal in around the edge there. And then what I've done is add in a load of coal down in that section now as well. Moving back up into this section, so I've added in another tree there, and I've also added in one there as well. I've done all of my dirt track road, goes all the way up to the back there, and I've added in some tracks and stuff, and then a little bit of sort of green scatter just up in through this section here. And it's quite time consuming doing all of this bit, as it's a 4-foot board. There's quite a lot to do. And then this leads up over to the bridge on here. And then if I take you up and over, and it's still a little bit wet in places, but now I'm working on bringing the road up in off there, and I've started to add a bit of a road that will go down onto this section here. And I'm going to cut away some of those stones. I just don't think that they look as good as the ones a little bit further back, so I'm going to scrape off those. And then I've started to bring the dirt track road up through the grass and into the tractor there. What I've done is I used the tractor, and then obviously some of the muds have gone through on that tractor as well, so I'm going to just dirty up the rest of it, and it will look like it's been going through this section here. And then with the edging that goes along here, what I'm going to do is put some fencing along this section here, just to kind of make it look like it's a road that's been cut into the hillsides and stuff. and then I'll weather up to kind of match with what I've done up in this side with the sort of greens and bits. I kind of like the rough sort of grasses and stuff. I mean, I don't have a small detailer one, so I try to do it and get it to stand up in places. But you know, it's try to use the colours to look like it's kind of dried out a bit, where it's just been in on the side there. So this scene is really starting to come together now, considering how this looked about 3 weeks ago. I still need to tone down some of these bright green bushes along this section. I'm not really happy with how bright they look, so I'm going to tone those down a little bit. And now I'm doing the little coal scene section here. I can then just focus on this last sort of part there for any scenics and static grasses, so I'm going to work on that. And then I'm pretty much ready to spray down some weathering on this set of tracks here, and potentially I'll try and get that one there done as well, and then I'll be ready for some ballasting. I've used some, or I'm going to be using some dark grey N-gauge ballast. I just wanted the really sort of fine stuff, and then what I'll do is when I'm fixing it down with some PVA, I'm going to add some colours to that as well in patches. So I'm going to mix up 3 different PVA solutions, some sort of oil stained ones and some lighter ones and stuff, and then when I'm putting the 50-50 mix down, it will then look very random rather than sort of looking all freshly laid ballast. I kind of want to give it some real depth and colour, especially down in this section here. It will be quite dark, and then on these ones it will be slightly lighter. So yeah, I'm hoping that at the end of this week I should be able to get this tied off and finished, which will then leave next week just to get the last of the ballasting down. And as you can see, I've got 3 running lines now. They're all working nicely. And then I've cleaned up the section at the back there, so that's all been cleaned off and stuff. Just hoovering up a load of the old static grasses and stuff like that as well. And then I'm now on to sort of that back end of the layout, because this for now will probably do. I'm going to add a lot more sort of buildings and bits as I go, but at the moment I'm feeling quite happy with the progress that I have made with this section, enough so that I can then start working on the back end of that layout now. I mean, with this section and most parts of a model railway, things are never finished, so I will be adding more detail as I go, but I really want to start planning in my station and stuff at the moment. There's one sort of corner there that I'm not feeling really happy with, and that I want to get some kind of detail to, because now I can see that this main 8-foot structure or base boards that are all down in this section, you know, the 8-foot ceiling work is really coming together, and now I really need to focus on getting that viaduct scene done and start tying that up with some of the detail and colours that have been added up in this section here. So I've weathered up my track. As you can see, it's looking a lot more less shiny than kind of the black ones at the back there. So I've done this stretch up here and I've just cleaned the tops of them. And what I've also done is I found some old steel track that I had from when I was younger, and what I've done is put a pastel fix over the top and then some rusted weather and powders, and I'm gonna have some rusted rails that have been used and they've been replaced with new track going up in this section here. So I'm gonna have sort of a couple of them dotted on top of the ballast. My next job is to get rid of this seam here and then start working on bringing up the section down in here. And then whilst I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm continuing to work on the back end of this part of the layout. What I've done here is I've sanded down the coal to give it that sort of embedded look into the road. I'm still gonna do a little bit more to kind of smooth that off and blend it in a little bit, and where those white spots are there, that's where the actual coal merchant sits, so you won't see those bits there. And then what I'm doing now is working on this back section here. I'm gonna go and crush up some more coal, and then I'm going to use that to dust the whole front of that section there, so that the ground is really kind of blackened and stuff all up in that section there. And then once I've finished doing this little back end piece here, I'm then going to work on doing the ballast down to probably this point here, because I'm still a little bit undecided on what I'm going to do with scraping some of this back and redoing a couple of these bits. It just doesn't look right compared to the rocks that are behind it. So some of them are kind of loosely put on and stuff. As you can see, it's like it'll be quite easy to scrape them off. So I'm just going to sort of chip that back a little bit and then give another wash over the top. I'm probably going to take about half of the amount off of that. I tried to put another wash over the top. You can see it's a little bit darker, but it didn't kind of work. So yeah, I'm going to bring it back and then just focus on having these cliffs here. I think I'll get rid of the majority of that. I'll keep some of the bigger rocks and chunks. I'll pick out some decent ones and then place them against the bottom half here. And then what I'll do is with this road here, I will continue it up through into this section. And what I might do is have like a little sort of scenic bit just in that little corner stretch up in the back there. So I don't know what sort of scene I'll make in there, but I don't know, maybe like a little pond or something like that. I don't know. I'll have a little think about that. So this is the layout with the lights on. I've wired up the other two there. They're shining quite brightly, but there's a nice sort of orange glow if you was to see it in real life. But I think that's come out quite well. It's lit up this bit quite nicely, and then hopefully with the back section there it will be quite bright with a load of sort of station lights and stuff. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with these. So it looks a lot different on camera than it does actually in real life. but it shines up sort of on the bridge section quite nicely, and sort of into the trees and stuff as well. This is a shot from the other side of the layout. So yeah, I think that's illuminated quite well. Looks quite good. You can see like the tracks in the road and stuff. I might add in one just over this side of the bridge as well, just to kind of light that section up as well. Yeah, right, back onto more scenics now the wiring's done. So I've had a little thought about what I could do to hide some of this polystyrene edging here. Now, I can't really put a back scene that's quite high over this piece, because you then won't be able to see a lot of the scenic detail that's on here. So I've come up with a little idea that I'm going to create my own 3D back scenes. So let me take you over to where the workbench is and I'll show you what I'm doing. So what I've done is cut down some of this 3mm ply and I've cut it into 6cm strips. And then what I've done is marked out the 3cm height. So this will be against the bottom of the baseboard where the polystyrene is. This bit here, I'm creating a 3D rock effect that will be painted up the same as the stone bridge. And then with this little edging here, I'll put some either a little bit of sky or some hillsides. So if I take you over to this side of the layout, and I just pop it in place. So what it will do is it will sit to the edge of the layout. And then, I don't know if you can see it properly, so that will all be painted up. That will look like a bit of stone walling. And then any angles that I do from this side of the layout, you'll just see some sky and some rocks in the distance. And then what I'm going to do is from this side is then create sort of the same height from this angle will look like a wall. So I'm going to use some textured sheets and add a walling on this side, and then on the top here just have like some sort of capping stone. So from here it will look like a bit of a wall from that side, and then from the other side it will look like sort of countryside and an old stone effect wall. So I've got to make up about 4 sheets of the A4 and then cut it off down into the bottom there. So this is just the first sort of test run to kind of see if it will work. Let me see if I can bring you over this side. So then that's how it will look, and then some very small hills, and then a little bit of blue sky up on the top there, just that if I was doing any sort of running shots from this side, you'll see some sort of effect. Or even if I was to bring it down there so you couldn't see anything behind the back of the layout there. So I hope that kind of sort of makes sense of what I'm trying to achieve. It's quite time consuming to put the plaster down and then cut in all those little stone effects there, but I'm hoping that that will look quite good, and it will give a little bit more detail to the edge of the layout, because I didn't really want it just to be sort of a road that sort of kind of went to nowhere, and then I can blend in some more muds and stuff up in that section. And then what I might do is maybe carve out a little gate or opening up into the fields behind. So for this part of the 3D back scene, it's going to take me a few days to make these up and paint them. So what I'll do is next week I will show you what it looks like at the end. But I hope you kind of can see what I'm trying to do with this section. So thank you everyone for joining me on this little update. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of the finished items that I have been doing and some of the projects that I'm currently working on at the moment. So for me, getting this back half of the layout kind of complete, and then working on this new little back scene piece, that should tie off this scene quite well. And then hopefully with the next week's update, you'll see that this the back scene's been finished and the track's actually been ballasted. Right, so thank you very much for joining me, and I will speak to you all soon. Bye for now.